Hello everyone, and in this video we're going to be looking at the most important tactics that you need to use in your prompts to get the best results out of ChatGPT. And I'm going to be showing you this with some practical examples for each one. And this is based on OpenAI's official prompt engineering guide, which I'll leave the link for you below in case you want to go into further detail. So tactic number one, include specific and clear details in your prompt. And I know this seems straightforward, but it's important to understand why we need to do this. And this is because the model considers all the previous tokens, or let's just call them words, and uses it to predict the next words within its current context window, which is basically the session and the words that you're working with right now. So by providing that extra detail in your prompt, you give it significantly more information to work with and to accurately predict all the subsequent words and tokens that are coming next. So the more you're able to provide in terms of context, the more relevant your output is going to be. So if you were to give it a bad example, you'd say something like, write about AI in healthcare, which is completely general. But a good example would be to write a prompt like this. So write an article composed of 6 paragraphs. So you can see I've specified the amount of the output that I want on the impact of AI in healthcare, focusing on how it enhances personalized patient care. Okay, so I've said specifically what I want the focus of my article to be. The article is intended for healthcare professionals and administrators. So I've said who my audience is and where it's going to be published in a leading healthcare journal. The tone should be informative and professional, specified the tone, the way it should be written, and it's suitable for an audience familiar with medical and technological advancements, telling it that you can use some technical terminology as well. So I'm going to enter this prompt. Okay, so if we look at our output, we can immediately see it's given us 6 paragraph output that we wanted, and it's also added a conclusion at the end. If we look at the actual writing, we can see that it's focused on the specific areas that I told it to focus on, which is the area of personalized patient care. And I can already see that it's given me some examples of specific AI tools. And if I read through it, I can see that it's adopted the tone that I want, it has technical language, and it sounds professional as well. So again, being specific and clear in my prompt will help me get a better output. So tactic number 2, split complex tasks into simpler subtasks. So instead of just asking for help in general terms, break down your request into specific actionable steps. And this approach makes it easier for ChatGPT to give you a more precise and helpful response for each step. So I'll give you an example. Instead of prompting it by saying, help me organize a virtual conference on AI, you can first ask ChatGPT to give you the steps involved. So we would put a prompt here that says, what are the steps involved in organizing a virtual conference on the advances of AI? Okay, so I'm going to enter that. And you can see that it's come back with some steps that tell me what I need to do in order to organize the conference. So I've got to find the conference goals and so on. I've got almost 12 different steps that I would need to go through. And now I can then follow up this prompt that says, provide a detailed guide on organizing a virtual conference on the topic of advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then the guide should include all the above steps. And now you can see it's come back with a detailed guide, and for each step, it's now broken it down into further sub-steps that tell me exactly what I need to do for each one, and it's given me a lot more detail than it initially did in the first part. So helping it to think in terms of these different steps will get more detailed, precise responses. And what you can do is you can even ask for further detail. Step number 1, consider any other variables that should be added. Okay, and I can specify one specific step to go into further detail, and then I will enter that. Okay, and you can see just for that step, again, it's gone into a lot more detail in terms of the topics and themes and so on. So when we get the model to think in terms of steps, we're usually getting a more precise, detailed output than if we just ask it to think of a topic as a whole. So tactic number 3 is to use larger prompts with delimiters. And with ChatGPT-4, you can now use much larger prompts because it has a 128,000 token context, which is roughly about 100,000 words. And this means that GPT-4 can retain and understand information across all those words. And you can use this to your advantage to have more detailed and complex interactions with the model. So to get the best results from these long prompts, you need to use delimiters clearly to separate different parts of your request. And when we talk about delimiters, they're basically symbols or words that help the AI understand where one part of your input ends and the other begins. So some examples are, as we can see here, you can use triple quotes, you can use 3 dashes, you can use angle brackets, you can use XML tags. Really, it doesn't matter which delimiter you use. The most important thing is that you stay consistent using the same delimiter for the type of instruction that you're giving. So let me give you an example just to clarify it a bit. And I probably don't need to use all these delimiters here, but I have quite a large prompt that I'm going to be inputting, and I want to structure it so that it's very clear in terms of what it needs to do and in terms of the output that I want it to give me. So if you look here, I've put my instructions in XML tags, so showing the beginning and the end. And I've said, you're an expert academic writer tasked with synthesizing research findings. Your primary duty is to summarize provided research papers and then develop crucial sections based on these summaries. Please adhere to the following guidelines while drafting your summary and section. And then the next section I've given it is the research papers. And I've said I have attached the 3 research papers for summarization, which I'm going to attach them in the prompt. And then I've got some section constraints, so specific things that I want it to stick to while it's responding. So maintain a clear and concise academic tone, limit each section, structure each section clearly and engagingly, and so on. And then I've got the summary of the research papers. So if you look at the instructions above, I want it to summarize the papers first. And then I've got a section that says research paper sections to craft. Okay, and here, so the first section I want it to come up with is the research questions. And I've also given it an example that I want it to follow when it comes up with the research question, that it knows when it comes back and gives me some research questions, it will follow the guidelines or the structure of this example. And then I've got my research questions section, and then this is where it's going to insert the research questions here. And then I've got a section on the important theoretical frameworks, and it's going to insert the theoretical frameworks based on the articles that I've provided here. So you can see there's a lot of sections. Had I just written it all as one prompt, it might not have come back with an accurate response. Definitely don't need to include all that in every prompt. So I'm going to go back to ChatGPT, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert this entire prompt over here. And what I'm also going to do is attach the articles to this prompt. So after I've attached my articles, I'm now going to enter the prompt. Okay, and if we look at the output, it's come back with exactly what I've specified. It's first summarized the research papers that I've provided, and you can see it's got 3 clear summaries of the 3 research papers. The next section is the research questions. It's now come up with 3 different research questions that are based on the articles that I have submitted, and it's also following the style of the example that I had given. And then the next section we can see is the important theoretical frameworks. Again, it's specified the 3 theoretical frameworks from the above examples. And you can see I was able to get the exact output and the structure that I wanted. So tactic number 4 is to provide a reference text. And you won't use this all the time, but this is really useful when you're focusing on extracting specific information from an article or a reference or a data set. And to do this, you provide a document and enclose that in triple quotes and a specific question for ChatGPT to answer. So we can add a prompt here that says, you will be provided with a document delimited by triple quotes and a question. Your task is to answer the question using only the provided document and to cite the passages of the document used to answer the question. If the document does not contain the information needed to answer this question, then simply write insufficient information. Okay, so basically we're telling it, don't make up the information, just say that it doesn't have the information. And then if an answer to the question is provided, it must be annotated with a citation and use this format to give me the citation. Okay, so I've added the prompt here. Now what I need to do is I'm going to open my triple quotes and I'm going to extract the reference text from an article. So I'm going to add that in. And I'm also going to add, like I mentioned, the question that I wanted to answer, which is what definition is provided for entrepreneurial action. And I'm going to close off the section with my triple quotes again. And I'm going to enter that. And you can see the response that it's given, the definition provided for entrepreneurial action, emphasize the importance of both opportunities and individuals. It's given me where it's extracted the information from and the citation. Here's the citation in the format that I specified above. And then it carries on giving me the rest of the information here as well. So what if I asked it something that really isn't part of the text? Will it respond as I asked it to just say insufficient information? So I'm just going to ask it something that definitely not in that reference text. I'm going to say, how many companies were used in this sample? And you can see it's come back with insufficient information. This is a really good way to get accurate information from a reference text, and also to build on tactic number 3. You can see using delimiters here to identify the part of the text that we're submitting is also really useful. So tactic number 5 is to provide examples using one-shot and few-shot prompting. Now, providing examples is such a powerful technique in prompt engineering, and the main idea here is to illustrate the task by giving clear, concrete examples, which can then help the model to replicate the outcome. And this technique is sometimes called one-shot prompting or few-shot prompting, depending on how many examples you give. So obviously, one-shot prompting would be just giving it one example, and then few-shot prompting would be giving 2 or more examples. And research has actually shown that when you use few-shot prompting, so anything from 2 to 5 examples, you actually get much better results. So I'm going to use 2 examples in this prompt, and we're going to apply this to getting ChatGPT to write an abstract based on existing abstracts in a journal. So say, for example, I want to submit a paper to this journal, and they already have a specific structure to the way they write the abstracts. I'm going to copy 2 different abstracts, exactly the same, and I'm going to give ChatGPT an instruction here that says, okay, use these 2 abstract examples to write an abstract in a similar style for a research paper. And then I've given the title of the paper that I wanted to write. This is the end of the instructions, and you can see I've used delimiters here as well. And then I've put the abstract example 1, write an abstract for a research paper, and I've taken the exact name of the research paper, okay, and then I've added here the actual abstract that was written for that paper with the same title, and then I've given it another example also from the same journal using write an abstract for a research paper, and then I've found another paper and given it the title, and then I've added the abstract. So I'm going to enter that. Okay, and now you can see from the output, it's come back with an abstract that really is in a similar style to the abstract from the journal that I've chosen. And if we read through it, you'll find that it actually sounds really academic. It talks about the gap that's been addressed, which is a key feature of all the other abstracts that we have. It talks about the findings. Obviously, this one is ChatGPT making these things up. You have to input additional material in your prompt to make it accurate, but you'll see that illustrates the findings, and then it goes on to talk about the discussion elements in the abstract. So really well written, done an amazing job in copying style of the previous examples. So in this video, I've focused on 5 main tactics that you can use to really get the best out of your prompt engineering. There are 5 more that I'd like to talk to you about, but I'll keep them to the next video. So please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.